Gentlemen, good day, and welcome to the Federal Bank Q4 FY20 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Shyam Srinivasan, MD and CEO. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Shyam Srinivasan.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. And I hope everybody is safe wherever you are and are able to cope well with the challenges of the world, so to say. We gathered to have a conversation about our Q4 outcomes and, more importantly, the way forward. I'm just trying to reflect back on 26th February when we had our analyst day in Mumbai, and we came away quite encouraged that we had given a good narration of ourselves, and many of you who are probably on the call today had a good sense of our plans and way forward. While our direction hasn't changed, certainly the challenges that we are faced with today were not visualized then, and consequently the mid-course corrections have been quite daunting. That said, I do believe that Q4, given all the challenges, was fairly strong operationally. We had some gains, some challenges. So whatever gains that we got, we made sure that it helps us strengthen the balance sheet and positions the bank for whatever challenges or environmental issues that may crop up that we are faced with. So a quick two-line update on the COVID impact on the bank, no different from any other organization in the country. We've had the same set of issues in terms of people having to work from home quite happily, and interestingly, we quickly rearranged ourselves that it today looks like we've done it all our lives. People have got used to working from home. In particularly, our teams in Mumbai and other large metros have had to literally sort of do everything from afar, and even the Q4 results, including our auditors, board members, everybody in multiple locations, it's looking like it's a seamless process, and everything is tracking quite on plan in that count. In terms of our business situation, in terms of the momentum, our belief is that Q4 in particular, till about 10th of March or first week of March, we were coursing quite well on all the areas that we had sort of chosen to put our attention around. Wherever growth was, containment of costs, as also most importantly and crucially, the marked improvements in credit quality and the recoveries. It was going well. Unfortunately, the last 3.5 weeks had challenges, and that did dent our numbers. But we had created a war chest by having some gains on the treasury and investment side, which came in handy to make sure that we can substantially increase our provision cover and enhance our coverage ratios and strengthen the balance sheet in a manner that we hadn't done before. So that sort of positions us very strongly as we enter what arguably is one of the toughest times in any of our lives. Most conversations in most organizations are around the banks, are around the portfolio quality, the prospective dent that it can make on both financial outcomes and the need for capital. We don't know. We have no clue how bad or how good it is going to be. We just know that about 35% of our book is in moratorium. We've sliced it, diced it in many ways. We have a sense of how we can deal with it, but the outcomes are not necessarily predictable. But I think we are positioning ourselves well to make sure that we can deal with all the challenges that are likely to come up. In terms of numbers, I'm not getting into any of them. I think you've all had an opportunity to look at our deck. Operating profit was clearly the highest all-time ever at 959 crores. The gross and net NPA both have had material improvement, which I think is a tribute to our multi-year focus on being conservative in credit standards and ensuring that the quality of the book is quite robust. Our stressed asset portfolio is low at 1.28%. Liquidity, which is being a strength of our bank, our LCR is at the end of the year was 185%, and now it's well over 200%. Liability franchise through any period in any look, we've had a good quality liability franchise, and all of it is granular. Many of you have been reporting that we are top quartile or top 2-3 banks in terms of the richness of the liability franchise. That is continuing. Even through the first 2 months of this financial year, we've seen good quality growth, both domestic and non-resident client deposits, and I believe that it will continue. Our focus around digital enhanced during the COVID even more. Our capabilities match the best. Our digital capabilities digital transaction volume has picked up both for individual and for corporates, as you would see in the slides. So on balance, credit growth for the year was about 11%, deposit growth of about 13%. Both of that were marked by the last 2-3 weeks slowdown, otherwise it could have hit the teens, mid-teens, but that's just a data point. Growth in areas that we had put our focus around, retail, gold, did well. We had consciously for almost 4 quarters have been slowing down the mid and higher ticket credits, and that's visible in the numbers. Business banking saw some pickup towards the second half of the financial year. We'll see how that plays out as things sort of shape up. Other income, in particular, treasury had a very strong year, both through one-off opportunities as also structurally, organically, things that have gone well. We've made substantial provisions for wage increase on account of the negotiations that are going on. The yield fall has resulted in treasury gains, but equally some cost impact on pensioning, which also we've provided for. And despite that, the cost-income ratio is at 50%. I'll draw your attention to a slide on our deck, which is just an explanation of how the year may have looked if the events of the last 2-3 weeks didn't come true, but we still had the one-off gains and the one-off impact. We would have still had quite close to what we believe was something that was in striking distance of delivering in the last quarter well over 1% ROA, which is what we had sort of geared all year for. But that is wishful thinking. That's unfortunately didn't happen. But I think the underlying momentum, the market permitting, we have the capabilities, we've demonstrated, and the year ahead will be all about ensuring we conserve, preserve, hold on to the good stuff that we've been doing, ensure that we are opportunistically picking up lending opportunities. Gold loan looks like a nice place to be. Our momentum has picked up quite materially. Corporate selectively we are doing. Cross-selling to existing customers based on data mining is well underway. And the government for guaranteed schemes where there are opportunities, we will sort of lead into that. So let me just summarize by saying we exited Q4 operationally strong, well provided for. Whatever one-off opportunities we got, we could gain from. We set that aside and ensured that we strengthened the book. We have a reasonable look into our book that has taken the moratorium. It's about 35%. The most heartening aspect of that is the SMA book as of 2 days back is at 0.7%, which is 840 crores out of the entire book, and that is out of which 103 crores we provided through the special COVID provisions. And we are preparing to make sure that between Q1 and Q2 of this year, which is likely to be low or no provisions in a normal sense because of the moratorium and the consequence of it, we will substantially build up provisioning to make sure that we are well positioned. And our capital adequacy continues to be strong at 14.5%. And since there was no dividend payout in FY20, all of that has been plowed back into capital. So it's 14.35% CRAR. And our stress tests point out that as the year rolls by, we will still be good to run the business without going into additional capital requirements for at least 12 to 15 months as we see. But these are unprecedented times. We are preparing for being nimble and right up there to do the best possible in current situation. So I'm not going to take much more than this. The slides, we've tried to make it very explicit and the best disclosure that we can offer. We've made between me, Ashutosh, Harsh, Babu, Anand, Nilufar. I think Shalini is not able to dial in. Other team members will be happy to take questions, clarify to everybody. So once again, thank you for dialing in, and I do hope everybody is safe and happy to take questions. So operator, you can open it.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. We take the first question from the line of Jai Mundra from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir, thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the detailed presentation. Sir, first question is, sir, you have mentioned in your slide that you have sliced and diced Morat portfolio and you have classified into red, green and orange. So can you provide some quantitative aspect there in these three categories? So low risk, medium risk, high risk.
Yeah. No, I intentionally didn't provide numbers in that because it's dynamic. It's a model we are using all these parameters. We're putting it, it's a multivariate model, putting it into our prediction engine, which brings out by each product category what is low risk, medium risk, high risk. And then we look at the probability of default of each of these, and then we work our collection strategy. But at this juncture, it may not be very clear because there is not much data that has changed in the last 45 days. What really will be visible as we go into Q2, and then only we'll be able to. But that's why I gave the earlier slide of the moratorium book is this, the current SMA book is this, and we have to see how this evolves over the next 60 days. So I think we can give a better line of sight on this as we go into Q2 or probably in August, September, only then. At this point in time, we have an internal measure based on which our collection efforts are being directed. But I don't think we can give a very meaningful number into this. But we have a sense of it. We think it could be something that we can share as we get into Q2.
Sure, sir. And sir, now the the moratorium has been extended by 3 more months allowed by RBI. So how are you approaching? Are you giving again 3 months moratorium by default? Or what is the moratorium policy that the bank has adopted, the further moratorium policy?
I think our moratorium policy is consistent. We have both an opt-in and an opt-out model for the different businesses. We haven't seen any change in the last 2 weeks of that. I do believe that as moratorium 2, so to say, kicks in the week 1 of June, you may see people either seeking to do. Our sense so far is there was a rush for moratorium in the early stages. I think people are seeing that it is an expensive choice to take a moratorium unless they are really pushed and want to keep cash in hand. People are somehow ensuring that that's why this 35 number of ours hasn't been swinging wildly. It was not 45 or 50 which came to 35 or 25 became 35. It's been in that zone. My sense, and I could be wrong, we will see. I would think this will remain more or less consistent to this number even in Q2 because I think people are realizing that there is a cost of holding out for too long. So if they can afford and as economic activity picks up in select places, some cash flows are coming in. My sense is people will pay and try to get out of moratorium because there's a cost of it.
Sure, sir. And this last thing, sir. So now this MSME guarantee scheme, once it starts, the operational guidelines are already in. Once you start giving the loans to business banking and qualified, let's say, commercial banking, ideally they should come out of moratorium, right? Technically speaking, or how would it be?
Ashutosh, do you want to take that?
Ashutosh, yeah, please come again. So, sir, I was saying the borrowers which are in the same business banking and commercial banking. Now, if you start roll out the credit guarantee scheme, now these guys would technically come out of moratorium, or they will still remain in moratorium?
So they will remain in moratorium, because moratorium is for repayment of the installments that are fallen due. So even otherwise, when you structure the loan and all that, I mean, you will have a 4-year loan in which there would be a moratorium, So it's, based on the, projections and the, viability of that particular, process or that particular unit. It would be decided how much, I think this is a general moratorium which would last up to 31st August. So when you give this particular loan, going by that, conditionalities of that, of a 4-year loan and all, you can have a, for that part, additional part which is guaranteed, you can have the moratorium there, and this would continue up to August. So both would be there.
Sure, sir. Thanks so much. I will come back in this week. Thanks.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Nitin Agarwal from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity and the additional disclosures this time. So I have a couple of questions around moratorium again. While you have said that this book has not moved widely, but if you can just give some approximate numbers on as to how much this book was as in April end, because many other banks have reported numbers as on April. And now we know that
the numbers that have been given in our presentations are as on days for yesterday. These are 26th May numbers, 25th May numbers.
Right.
These are not 30th April or these are not 31st March numbers.
Yeah. So my question was how much approximately would this have been around April end? 35, I understand is the
Hasn't moved much. I think it should have been 34. At the peak, it was about 38%, my recollection. That's why I said the swing is not very much.
Okay. And any pending cases there on which we still need to decide?
No.
At this point in time, no.
Because we are towards the end of the first.
Tomorrow is the end.
Yeah. Getting over on 30th of May in another 2 days. Day after tomorrow, the first set is going to be over. Now from 1st June, we'll have to observe afresh. Anybody would like to extend that, or they would be, some of them would probably, looking at the experience, if you just see the SMA book and all, it's at 840. So people have been paying. 840 crores is, even in normal times, we used to have somewhere around 1.5% SMA book and all, and this is less than 1%.
Right. And in your interaction with customers, does it look like that customers are looking forward to further relaxations or interest waivers as interest for 6 months gets piled up, and they will refrain from regularizing the account despite resuming business operations?
So very difficult to project right now. Very difficult to predict, because that would be a prophecy that one can make, but we never know, because how the situation turns out. If you go back to 1918 and 1920, Spanish flu and all, the second wave was more dangerous and all that. So I think fatalities wise and I think destruction of wealth wise and all that. So I don't know. This is something which we need to. Lots of lessons would have been learned from that particular episode, and definitely those learnings would have been put to use in this one. And therefore the casualties are lower, and therefore all sorts of precautions are being taken, and probably people would not be as sort of reckless and all which they were in 1918 to 20 when the relaxations were made after the lockdown and all. So I don't think it's going to be that well, but then I think very difficult to predict, how it's going to happen. But we would periodically, based on that engine and all which Shyam has discussed, we would be periodically recalibrating our, predictions and all.
So Nitin, I'll just try and expand on what Ashutosh mentioned. The short point is it is difficult to make a very generic prediction. If you ask us anecdotally, Harsh is also on the line, some of our business heads are on the line. We've had many kinds of conversations with different segments, and the truth is some segments themselves are facing their suppliers or their buyers giving them cues. if a textile exporter is suddenly getting a force majeure from their buyer overseas, then their commitment that they made 10 days back could change. We've heard some customers say that the overseas orders in markets like Italy have started picking up, and therefore their lubrication has started. We've also heard customers who have said their buyer in the UK has applied force majeure and said that they are not able to take off their stock, and therefore the supplier here has to deal with his own problem. So it's kind of mixed, and I would think, particularly for tickets, say more than 10 crores, 20 crores, it's a very bespoke client-to-client solution. And so the entire RM community for the last 60, and I would think for the next 120 days, their big part of their role is a very close engagement with clients and structuring it in such a way that we are able to make sure that the client and the bank doesn't get into any agony. Easier to say, but that's what our teams are doing.
Right. And my last question is around the retail segment. Now that segment in absolute terms contributes the most to the moratorium book. So if you can give some more color on different segments within that, say gold loans or housing, LAP, and so as to what is the contribution and how much of this is coming in from opt-in and how much from opt-out? Because I believe the proportion of moratorium would be starkly different between the two schemes.
Nitin, the gold loan book is in a nice place. There is no challenge on the gold loan book. We are quite happy with that. And the retail, as in loan against property, home loan, which are the dominant part of our retail book, is secured. The moratorium, if I remember right, is 38%. Not if I remember right, it's in front of me, it's 38%. And that's a book that we have cut it into, much more because it's data amenable. We've put the decision engine on it. We have got the kind of dimension of the kind of book that it will be. Roughly, I would say about 6 to 7% of that book, which is the sharpest part of it, which needs great attention. The rest would fall in the low or very medium category. So the high risk part of it is between 5 and 7% that needs attention and focus. But since these are secured, our unsecured book is very small, and that is the book that is sold to existing customers. So we are not seeing much stress on that. But that said, these are, it was good for 3 months. Will it good for 6 months? Will it good for 9 months? We'll have to see. So we are watching closely the progress on that. But yeah, you could say the 5 to 7% of the retail book is where the greatest attention will be.
Okay, sure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Additionally, the LGD is lowest in, our retail book, basically because it's, as Shyam has said, it's all secured. We don't have too much of unsecured. So whether it is gold or housing loan or LAP or whatever it is, our past trend of 5-6 years suggests in these books.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Venkat Subramanian from Organic Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, Shyam and team. Congratulations on managing very well on it during very challenging circumstances. Couple of questions. How comfortable are you with the sovereign guarantee for MSME? Because there are conflicting opinions with respect to how it is structured. Are there challenges with respect to how it is put through?
Even the CGTMSE scheme, if that is a reference from the past, there are, like any other insurance program, always ways to decline a claim, right? Like your health check was not done properly, or your submission quality was poor, or this feature was not met, and therefore we've not had the best of experiences on CGTMSE, and hence our use of that scheme has been quite limited. But I don't want to be negative about it. We just have to deal with this on a case-to-case basis. So have I got a highest sense of comfort? No. Is it a scheme that we will pursue very closely? Yes. And we have to structure it in such a way that we document well, we use our learnings from the past to make sure that the recoverability is high. We also now know that the time for recovery, even if the guarantee is assured and the money has to come, is not like you pay and you get immediately kind of thing. It will take its course, so we just have to prepare for that. There is no.
But one positive point is 3/4 of the money is coming to you within a defined period, and the rest of it can go on and all. That's an additional comfort and all. So number one, you do not require any capital charge for that. So risk weight is 0 on one hand, and probably they have created a separate trust for that. That could be the reason.
Most of the people, I think it's most useful for us because our exposure to MSME is fairly high. So how do we intend using this just now, given all our reservations and all our learning?
I think these both businesses, business banking and commercial banking, are RM-led businesses. So we have mined that. We have got a pre-approved credit clearance on who we can make offers to. And the RMs or the teams that are working in the branches are reaching out and working with clients. So it's it's not like you walk in and demand. It's pre-cleared. We go to the client.
Sure. Secondly, Shyam, what is the status of your extension with RBI?
It's waiting for the regulator to clear. Letter is with RBI for about 2 months now. I think March 25th or so. So we hope sometime in the next 2 months. I don't know. With RBI, it comes when it comes, right? But there are no negative signs, so we hope it will come.
Wonderful. All the very best, Shyam. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Mayuri Yadav from Equentis. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Sir, just some data-related question. If you can just help me reconcile the numbers on slide 3 and slide 13, where we have given a breakup of one-off cases. We have mentioned an additional credit provision of 167 crore and COVID provision of 93 crore, which again is broken up into 30 crore and 63 crore for the COVID provision. So if I just look at the provision breakup for quarter 4, there is a loan loss provision of 417 crore and there is a standard account provision of 102 crore. So just want to understand how this 167 crore and 93 crore are accounted in your provision. If you can help me understand that data, please.
The 167 is part of the 417. The 93 is part of the 102. 102 is the standard asset provision. The COVID provisions of 93 come under the standard asset provisions. We held some of the standard asset provision because of asset growth, and this 93 is part of that.
Right, sir. So this additional credit provision of 167 crore primarily is what is reflected in our PCR growth for the quarter itself. So this is additional provision that we have taken.
The increased provisions we've made on to ensure that we strengthen our coverage from 45 point something to 53 point something.
Correct, sir. Sure. And then this additional provision for the employee cost of 120 crores, you mentioned in your opening remarks about the pensioning provision for the employees that has been done for the quarter. Just want to understand that for the last 2 to 3 quarters, we have seen the employee cost going up. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is also largely to do with your pension provisioning that you have been doing. So, is it over or is it likely to continue in future as well?
May I respond, Shyam? May I respond?
Please go ahead.
It's directly linked to what type of treasury gains you make, ma'am. If the yields fall, your bonds get appreciated and you book, profit there. And on the other hand, when the yields fall, your actuarial calculation for your future liability, which is on account of superannuation and pension gratuity, leave encashment, all those payments is there. So when the yield falls, so you said how much more is it over? Depends on what is your prediction of how many basis points the yield would fall from here. So if you say that 10-year yield would go to 4%, probably additional provision would be required on the employee cost. But then we would make
2 points just to build on Ashutosh's. One is generally the gain is 2.5 to 3 times of the expense on the yield provision pensioning side. That said, pensioning cost is captured then and there. The yield gain depends whether you sell or not. Sometimes it may just be, so it's not necessarily one-to-one matched off. In this quarter, it matched off because we sold and we also provided. So in this quarter, it matched off. May not on a regular basis. We may choose not to sell. We may hold on to the gains. But the pensioning is a must, so we will provide for it.
Right, sir. So one last question. Our NR deposits for the quarter has seen a very healthy growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis, approximately around 6%. What has contributed to this and, given our higher dependence on Middle East remittances, what is your outlook given the environment, and the probable job losses in Middle East?
If you've tracked us for long, you would realize that every time there is some kind of disarray in any of the overseas markets, in particular Middle East, we benefit because the remittances increase. So that is one of the reasons. Second is when there is instability elsewhere, people send money to the safest one, and we happen to be on the safest banks. So we get our share or a larger share of it. And we are increasing our share of remittances from about 6 to 7% 5 years back to now 16 to 17% of India's remittances is flowing to Federal Bank. And so generally, we are a larger market share player, more stable. Middle East instability gives money flow. Now, will this continue forever? We will seek for it to happen, but you know how things are. If things dry up and situation gets worse, we will get better before it gets worse, because initially when there's a problem, money flows in, and then for a while it may dry up. At this juncture, we see even in the first 2 months of this financial year, it's growing quite well.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your detailed answers. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Mona Ketan from Sugalat Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir, good evening. Thanks for taking up my question. So, firstly, I wanted to check, do we hold any floating provisions in our books currently?
A very small number, in 2-digit crores. Ashutosh, am I right? Ashutosh? He's off the line. Anand, do you remember the number? Yes, you're right.
You are right. It's 2 digits.
Okay. And what percentage of the portfolio will be eligible for the MSME guarantee scheme? Because I understand that apart from business banking and commercial banking, some part of your corporate book may also be eligible for the same.
The part that is eligible for that comes under a commercial bank. There are about 1,000 crores.
Sorry, sir, can you come back?
About 16 to 18,000 crores of our book is eligible.
Okay, got it.
I was disconnected. I hope you listened to the answer, or is that incomplete?
Yeah, Ashutosh, I mentioned.
Oh, thanks.
Sure. And on the gold loan book, including agri gold loans, what would be your total gold loan portfolio?
Ashutosh, how much is gold loan including agri?
9,300 crores.
Okay. And on the OPEX side, just wanted to check what is the kind of flexibility we have, given that, in the current environment, there might be some impact on the top line.
Non-wage, every line of the bank is flexible. Variable compensation, rentals, volume-related costs, renegotiating every other contract, everything is flexible and and we believe we have a great action on that. We've seen some gains on the rentals renegotiation, and certain decisions of deferring spends are very much so next week. Yeah.
Sure, thanks. That's all from my side. I'm done, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. The next person.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Renish from ICICI Securities. Please go on.
Hello?
Yeah. Hi, Renish.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Sir, quick two questions. So one is on the moratorium piece. So within her retail, so sir, our 50% of the book is into home loan and, some part of it into gold loan also. So this number looks slightly on the higher side. So if you can just qualitatively comment on the portion which is under moratorium in terms of the customer segment, or how we have arrived at this 38% within retail, considering the 50% of the book is home loan.
No. So the question is that 14,000 crores, 14,271 is retail moratorium. What's the question? Sorry.
So this looks slightly on the higher side because almost 50% of the book is under the home loan piece. So just trying to get a sense what sort of customers are opting for moratorium, or what sort of stress you see in this retail book.
So the stress part I mentioned, we've used the decision engine. We've got low, medium, high risk, and high either is between 5 and 7% of that 14,271. So that's what it is. Nilofer, do you want to give more texture if you have any? Nilofer or Babu?
I can simply say that irrespective of whether the home loan, the borrower is salaried or from self-employed, they have, this particular classification is indifferent to going for, this moratorium. So probably even if their salaries are getting credited and all, they would like to retain the balances in their operative account rather than paying the EMI, because this facility is available. And there is some mechanism there. Some are changing from that and saying, no, we'll pay and all that. So that also is happening. As Shyam had said, at peak, the moratorium percentage had gone to 38%, now reduced to 34.5, around 35% or so. So I think initially opting and then again, opting out, all these things are, happening. So I think it's not necessary that those who have availed moratorium are for sure stressed. No, there's uncertainty for which they are keeping some liquidity available with them. Got it. And as per our analysis, we feel 5 to 7% might.
Let me just give you one data point, Renish, which may help you since you've asked for. The home loan plus LAP put together is about 12,000 crores.
Right.
Out of that, about 3,000 crores is the NR customers, and the rest are domestic customers. That's just a data point for you if you want some analysis to be done on that.
Okay, got it, sir. Since second on this CGTMS thing, so you mentioned that we'll assess account by account, but as per the operational guidelines, it's opt out. So does it mean we have to offer to all our clients, or how we are looking at internally?
No, I think if you read this carefully, it says credit prudence to be applied by the banks.
Yes.
So we will apply the prudence.
Okay. And sir, lastly on...
By now, our prudence is visible in every decision of ours in credit.
Right. Yeah, sir. That's it. Yeah. Sir, lastly on the gold loan piece, as you have rightly mentioned in PPT as well, that near term we're going to focus on this book. So any number you want to put to that, in terms of growth or strategy?
We have quite an ambitious plan, Renish. When we come out with our results for Q1 at the end of or middle of July or last week of July, I think we'll be able to share traction. But I'm happy that there is good progress.
Okay. So even as we speak today, you are saying there is a good traction in gold loan?
Yes.
I think March, the number which I gave you, 9,300 crores, was the March end number. Huh? Exactly. Right, sir. So, okay.
Yeah,
so you're saying April, May has been good in terms of gold loan growth?
May has been good. April is less. May has been good.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And best of luck for future, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Gurpreet Arora from Aviva India. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm referring to slide 15. If you can help me with the data point. The external rating of corporate advances, what is the base of this corporate advance, sir? What's the number?
Anand, go ahead.
Sorry, I missed the question. Can I have it again?
Yeah. So on slide 15, where you're given the ratings of the corporate advances. So on the left side, where you're mentioning the external rating of corporate advances, what's the denominator or the chunk of that corporate advances you're talking about?
It's around the slide 5 which gives the total of corporate advances, which is 50,725. That's the denominator.
Okay. And what would be the other part which you mentioned at the bottom right?
The others part is 7% of that. That is further blown up into FB internal ratings.
7% of
50,000 crores is given in the internal ratings of that.
Got it. Thank you. And how much of our NBFC and HFC book is under moratorium?
I wouldn't know because we haven't offered it that scale.
NBFC is very small.
Okay. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Very small.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of...
Just for earlier point, I think the slide around corporate book moratorium is 22%. That itself explains that a low part of the 20%. So a very low part of the book is NBFC HFC. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Next question is from Anirban Sargar from Principal Asset Management. Please go ahead. Mr. Anirban Sargar, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead, sir, with your question.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Sir, just one question. The moratorium 2, so is that applicable only to customers who had been granted moratorium 1, or is this applicable to customers who have taken loans in the interim as well? So, for example, let's say a customer who has taken a loan in April, would he or she be applicable for would this moratorium be applicable for them?
No, as of February 29th, whoever is on the book.
Okay, they have to be the same set of customers basically who were eligible earlier, only they are eligible now.
It's very unlike somebody who will take a loan in April and will seek a moratorium unless it's part of the contract with the client.
Okay. And the other question is that, do we see any risk in our retail and SME books, especially in accounts where, there is some dependence on remittances from the Gulf region?
I think that is a portfolio for all, so nothing to do with moratorium or otherwise. That is a risk that has always been in the bank, right? Depends on how things shape up. But
have you seen any worsening in the credit quality there? Or?
I'm sure you guys are more aware than me. Last 50 days is no indication of anything because moratorium is there, so you don't know whether it's going to pay or not, right? And you're seeing balances build up. If we scrub the existing customer against the deposit balance they hold with us, more than 70% have more than one EMI available on their account.
Okay. Just my last question on the additional employee provisions. I think you mentioned that there is an element of provision made due to a wage hike negotiation that's ongoing. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how much are we building in? What kind of percentage increase are we thinking of?
We are up to date as of March 31. We have provided for 15%. So this quarter we've provided for 29 months, 3% extra, including March provision of 15%. So we provided 45 crores or so.
All right. Great. Thank you, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Abhijit Vora from Sundaram Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
So thanks for taking the question. First question is, sir, you did mention that Q1 and Q2 you'll start building provisions aggressively. Just wanted to understand what are the LGD expectations from the accounts under moratorium, if you could give some broad estimates, especially because some of these are secured portfolio.
On Ind AS, we've been doing for 8 quarters. The LGD at a portfolio level is between 38 and 40% at the total portfolio level, with retail being lower and the corporate being higher. Generally we said If it worsens by 25%, we should be prepared. So we are building up to 50s and early 50s as coverage, which is what we are working on.
Right. Right. And my second question is on the asset quality. Just wanted to understand, see, this SMA numbers. The SMA numbers, usually, some of the banks have started taking COVID-related provisions on entire SMA book, but you chose just on SMA 2 as per RBI guidelines. So you choose to build on it in Q1 and Q2. Is it as well you have started in...
We will build more. If you take 840 crores as the SMA book as of yesterday, we made 93 crore provision.
Yeah.
Which includes the 300 crores which would have otherwise slipped if it had not got asset quality standstill.
Right. Right. Sure, sir. Just one more question. Why did you choose to increase borrowings Q1 Q when there is excess liquidity on the balance sheet? I can see deposits accruing much more than advances, but still borrowings are also going up. Any specific reason you are sort of increasing your liquidity levels much more?
Yeah, I think, there was, feeling that smaller banks will not get deposits and all. So I think this is something which was creating, we saw a couple of banks having negative growth in deposits. So, I mean, on one hand, we have not aggressively pushed it, but what we have done is we have curtailed our credit growth. So in the process, liquidity got built up. So our deposit growth, if you see, it continues to be more or less what in previous years Q4 had been. And that is coming from both resident depositors as well as NRE. On both fronts. Our NRE deposit growth had been 14% YOY. The total deposit growth had been almost 13%. So I mean more or less same growth in resident as well as NRE. And NRE is your permanent, stable, retail, granular deposit. So you can't just number one say no to deposit. Number two, you can't pay higher than resident depositors. That also is regulatory requirement. So at the same cost at which you are getting resident deposits, you are also getting NRE deposits.
Sure, sir. But the borrowings going up.
Yeah, I think the point that Ashutosh is making, borrowings were made in the beginning of the month.
Okay.
See, 29th February is when Yes Bank had the problem, right?
Yeah.
There was this fear that banks will not get deposits. Money was available. We took the money. At that time, nobody visualized we will choke the credit in the last 2 weeks of the quarter. I think between corporate and retail, we literally told the business guys, no, don't do it now. We may get back credits. So the lockdown plus our own choice, I think corporate stayed away for about 1,000 crores, retail about 500 crores, 400 crores.
Sure. So deposits continue to accrue in Q1 at a much faster clip?
Retail deposits are going well. Bulk deposits we will let go.
Yeah, bulk deposits and these fees and all are coming down drastically, sharply coming down.
But retail is going well.
Can NIMs be safeguarded, sir, by dropping cost of funds, or will the NIMs be impacted because of excess liquidity on the balance sheet?
Near term, NIMs will hold, as in Q1, Q2, because the credit that is neither growing nor falling, and you are seeing the interest accrual happening. We've cut our deposit rates to match every time there's a rate cut. So we believe that NIMs will hold for Q1, Q2 with no contra revenue because of no slippages. Q3 onwards, we will certainly revisit, but the business mix is also changing. The gold loan business, which is relatively higher margin, is growing well. And so we will see. I'm making no commitment of how the Q3, 4 will happen, depending on environment shaping up.
And our savings bank is linked to repo rate. So on ALM side also we are balanced because on external benchmark loans we are giving against repo. So on one hand we are repo linked assets and on the other side we have repo linked liabilities.
Sure, sir. Those were my questions. I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next question is from the line line of Rakesh Kumar from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Could you hear me, sir?
Yeah, very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So firstly, my question is pertaining to, the strong growth that we witnessed in, FY 17, 18 and 19, particularly in the corporate loan book. So overall growth we had, 26, 25 and 20% in this three respective years, and more in corporate loan. And now we are also saying that, the LGD is higher on this portfolio. So considering that, what happens post November, because in the August the moratorium will get over, and thereafter 90 days DPD would be there. And so what is the PD we are looking at, probability of default we are looking at in the loans under moratorium in the corporate loan? Thank you, sir.
We are at this juncture quite most sanguine about the corporate book, because you would have seen the moratorium itself is only 20%, and the book is 80% A or above, and we have reasonable grip on that book. That said, in the environment worsens and things fall apart, then it's a different story. At whatever line of sight we have at this point in time, the corporate book looks reasonably under control. I pause when I say that because you don't know what things are in store, but we are not seeing any names at this point in time that's worrying, other than the one name that is the Middle East name which everybody is talking about, which we've started building provisions for.
Thank you, sir. One more question that is pertaining to AS 15 provisions. So in previous quarter, we had a feeling that the provisions related to terminal benefits obligations would be 7 to 8% of total OPEX, but it came out to be around more than 12%. And obviously because GSEC movement was very, very sharp this time around. But what is the discount rate and rate of return on the plan asset that we have assumed? Thank you.
Ashutosh?
Yeah, I think discount rate has been taken at 650 or something around that, because that is for 22 years and 14, depending upon what is the average maturity period they've taken for gratuity and pension. So that's in that range. Return, because the money is placed with LIC, and from LIC to buy annuities, so they declare every year. Till now, they have been declaring in excess of 7% or so.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, I'd like to remind participants, please limit your question to 2 per participant. You may rejoin the question queue if you have a follow-up. Next question is from the line of Sumit Kariwala from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Shyam. Had a quick question. You mentioned that the MSME portfolio has been reviewed and you've selected the entities where you will offer the 20% additional MSME funding. Wanted to check what percentage of MSME portfolio would that amount for?
We think it may be about over a 6-month period, about 2,000 crores is the potential that is there.
You're saying MSME portfolio worth rupees 2,000 crores is where you will provide additional 20% funding. Or 2,000 crores is the...
2,000 crores is the lending opportunity over a 6 to 8 month period.
Okay, very clear. And second is there is pickup in market risk and the
Sorry, I lost part of the line, Sumit.
The increase in market risk this quarter, was that quite meaningful? Because if I look at RWA, that has grown at 6% versus loan book growth of 3%. So just trying to figure out, is it that the market risk has gone up quite meaningfully, right, this quarter?
Let me respond to that. I think market risk has gone because we have invested in equity of a particular, bank or so, on which, I think you have to provide higher, risk weight.
Okay. So that higher market risk rates will remain. Okay, very clear. Thanks a lot, Ashutosh. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Manish Shukla from Citigroup. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. On liquidity and LCR, just wanted to understand what is the thought process in the medium term and the near term, because you've been carrying quite significant liquidity and it's closer to 200%. And having good high liquidity is good, it also comes at a cost. So just wanted to get your thought around how you look at it, maybe in the near term, and then normalize liquidity levels for you.
So during this COVID period, till the dust settles or starts settling and all that, we would like to be having a higher liquidity, even if there is some cost to it. That's a conscious decision, and you would have seen our CD ratio also has fallen from nearly 84% to now 80% or so. So that is a choice we have made to be highly liquid and all. As you know, days go past and we see some sort of reduction in this uncertainty and all, we would start building up our credit portfolio. Once you have the liquidity, it's only a measure of pushing the pedal and growing your credit.
Traditionally, you've been at 150% plus. You think that kind of stays? That would not.
Between 150 to 160, and that will be the steady state.
Yeah, average for last quarter had been 180%. Average. Right now it may be 200 plus, but average for Q4.
These uncertain times, which may last for the next 3 to 6 months, it will be north of 160.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Please remember this LCR number, fortunately for us, is higher because of the granularity of deposits. That has nothing to do with, it's not a direct proportion of cost and all. Because HQLA, high quality liquid assets, for that, most banks would have that 18% coming to them through fall LCR, FAL LCR, where they can dip into, 15% of your NDTL is considered as HQLA from your SLR book, and you can dip into your SLR to the extent of 3%. Earlier it was 2%, now increased to 3%. And that also, and you can borrow from RBI under MSF. So put together, almost entire requirement of SLR now comes as an HQLA. So that would be the case with all the banks. But what comes as a sort of benefit to us is that the outflow part in that we have very small bulk deposit book, and we have more of retail. So that is considered as a stable deposit, and that results in a higher ratio. So you'll see all banks which are having a higher LCR, partly is because their deposit profile is more retail in nature than bulk.
Yeah, absolutely, I get that point, but you are anyway was meaningfully ahead of most of its peers as is, even before this started. So,
yeah.
Just one more question. Do you have any? Yeah. So sorry. Do you have any exposure to NMC, and are you willing to quantify it?
We have an exposure to not NMC, the other exchange house.
UAE exchange.
Okay. And is it material enough to?
It is $20 million.
Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Darpin Shah from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. What I understand is you have made 93 crores provisions on COVID, and your SMA book, overall SMA book is almost 840 crores. So you have provided 10% on it, correct?
Yeah, you can interpret that. Yes, Darpin.
So which means we have not created any additional or ad hoc provisions for COVID-related impact, which may come in next 2-3 quarters or 4 quarters.
We have increased our credit provision. We see credit plus COVID provision as one large chunk. Between the two, we have created good provision and increased the coverage. And in the Q1, Q2, we will make appropriate provisions.
Okay. And sir, you had mentioned that you have seen good inflows in retail. deposits. Can you quantify for the first 2 months of the year?
Non-bulk has grown 2%, 2 to 2.5% in this quarter.
Sorry?
Non-bulk has grown to 2 to 2.5% growth.
Retail deposits have grown by about 2% in the 45 days.
Normally, in the Q1 of any financial year, the first 60 days is like no growth, degrowth. We've seen.
Hello. Sorry, I'm not able to hear.
No, I said normally in a financial year, the first 2 months doesn't see much deposit growth. This time, because of either remittance coming in or customers leaving their balances in their account and not taking it for spending, we've seen growth of about 2 to 2.5% on the retail deposit. Having said that, we've shared some corporate and bulk deposits and CDs.
Okay. And so the last thing is, if you can provide the book breakup between how much of the book is linked to MCLR, how much of the book is linked to external benchmark rates?
Do you have it top of your mind, Anand?
See, every retail and MSME from 1st of October 2019 is to be linked to EBM, external benchmark. So the new book is being linked to that. Earlier we used to have one T-bill linked book.
I will share that. Ashutosh, I have the number. The base rate book, the external benchmark loans is about 25%, and base rate is about 5%. That's of course old. MCLR linked is about 40%.
Sorry, MCLR linked is 40%.
40%.
Rest is fixed rate.
Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot.
Welcome.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Abhishek Murarka from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, Abhishek.
Yeah, good evening, sir. So my question is on OPEX. If I knock off this 120 crores, even then, you are roughly at around 800 crore overall quarterly run rate. For this current year, are you planning any particular, cost saving in any particular line that you can share, your plans about? And secondly, would we still expect around an 800 or so, 850 crore of quarterly run rate, or should we expect that to subside?
No, I think there are two parts to it. Like I mentioned, some part of the OPEX is variable, right? It's volume linked. It is either a debit card spend or a sourcing and servicing of some of the assignment books. So that if volumes come down, that will have a direct impact. Second, that which is variable and renegotiable, we're renegotiating. So I think I won't put a number to it, but yes, we are targeting to see some meaningful reduction in our run rate between lower volume related as also renegotiated related. I think you'll get a better sense of it as we come out of Q1.
All banks will have a 20% hike in deposit insurance fee. So from 10 paisa, it has gone to 12 paisa. So that this financial year, all banks will have on their total deposit that much additional charge.
Sure. But sir, just to press upon it, ballpark, what is that proportion of cost, let's say if you just see non-staff expenses, which is generally variable. So where you could expect this volumes dropping to have an actual impact?
So your sales origination costs, your variable cost into
travel expenses.
I haven't seen a flight for 2.5 months. Unlikely I will see one for the next 2, I guess. I used to do 4 a week, and I'm sure many of the senior colleagues too. So there are lots of these which are perforce become a reduction. So there will be a bunch of it. Every rental contract is negotiated.
Rent renegotiated.
You've seen success on some of them. I'm not quantifying anything yet because I'd like to see it crystallize in the quarter.
Fair enough. And on the salary side, generally, how much is variable?
See, the compensation structure is as follows. The variable part is either at the senior level, as the AVP and above, which is incentive, and that is entirely in our hands. If you don't perform, you don't pay. The fixed salary, which is already in the run rate, that can't go away. So roughly, I would say about 100 crores a month, Ashutosh, is that a right number?
Yeah.
Right? So that part, out of that salary part will be close to 80 crores. That won't change. So about 950 to 1,000 crores a year won't change. Everything else in the cost line is variable.
Okay. Great. That's clear. The other quick question I had was that in terms of provisions, again, I know you said that Q1, Q2, you'll be making appropriate provisions. But if we just sort of compare with your bank, some of them are holding around 100, 120 basis points of loans as contingency or floating provisions on their balance sheet. So any such number, let's say maybe 50 basis point or something that you would look to build in the next 6 months, say?
See, I think
Go ahead, Ashutosh. Go ahead.
if you take the total loan book, I mean, that includes the NPLs and all that. I mean, that depends, how much you put where.
So I'm just talking about the floating and contingency, not the specific provision.
Yeah, I think, let me just expand on that. Yes, some banks have taken a huge number and some banks have taken a different number. Between now, Q1 and Q2, we will hopefully provide meaningfully because Q1 and Q2, otherwise there is no provisioning required, right?
Right.
So we will make a provision. So it's in the run rate. We are not in a rush to show higher profitability. We are in a rush to strengthen the balance sheet.
Sure. And just lastly, one clarification. I think you said you gave a number for the portfolio that is eligible under CGT, MSC, or the new scheme, the NCGTC scheme.
Yeah.
Can you just repeat that?
16 to 18,000 crores is the universe. We think about 2,000 crores is the lendable opportunity.
Oh, okay. Right, sir. Thanks so much and all the best for the coming quarter.
Thank you, guys. We will take 2 or 3 more questions and then close. If there are any other
questions. The last 3 questions from the line of Nilanjan Kanta from IDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, Shyam. Question to probably Ashutosh. Look, I mean, we had built the business around, milking RMs, right? And not opening branches. Do you think the new environment will have to make some changes to that business plan?
I think I'll take that, not Ashutosh.
Okay.
In fact, I will not hesitate to say this is the best thing we've done and we'll do more of it.
Why do you say that, Shyam?
Because the personal connect and the no physical infrastructure is helping us greatly. Mm-hmm. And RMs are connecting quite well with clients. Clients like the model. And most importantly, I don't carry any fixed costs and I have a lot of flex on how to reach out. And this whole new world of technology-enabled connect is helping greatly.
We are delivering our services and products at doorsteps. So I mean it when I say that. I think whether these are loan products or deposit products. So on your desktop or at your doorstep. So whichever way you take it. So I think that doesn't need physical infrastructure to that extent. Yes, there should be presence for trust and recognition of the brand and all that. And for that, I think we have reasonable presence in the selected geographies. So if at all we'll open, we'll choose the geographies where we want to be present and need it from the brand building point of view and all.
Right. So there was this plan of starting to open new branches, right? From this current FY21 onwards.
Although I said last year we will do about 20-25 last year and a similar number, a little more this year. Out of the 20-25, I think 12 or 14 we opened. Then this COVID hit, so we've frozen.
Right.
I don't visualize anything other than the ones that are contracted and work is underway, which will happen when lockdown lifts. Mm-hmm. I don't think we'll open anything for the next 6 to 9 months till there's line of sight and clarity. And
right.
Those are coming under the discretionary spends which we can hold off till clarity emerges.
Perfect. That's very helpful. And Shyam, I kind of missed a data point you shared. You said something about 5 to 7% is high risk. I just want to check what you talked.
On the moratorium book, I think one of the questions was give us some texture on the retail moratorium. I said 14,000 crores or something is in the moratorium.
Right.
The model shows between 5 and 7% will fall under the high risk.
Right. And would you qualify that this book is what is NR linked?
No, it's not necessarily NR linked, because the NR portfolio is about 30% of the retail portfolio. 25-30%.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry to prolong this. I know. You have been. This is a question for every time about the NR book, and the NR flows typically increase either in festivals or when there is a distress.
When petrol prices increase or when the fuel prices fall or when the rupee weakens.
Correct. But is there a job related? This is the first time I think we are seeing a job related crisis as well. Not just globally as well, right?
Yeah, I think we should first not downplay this. It can be. I don't know what it will be. And I've always said this, right? There are two parts to the NR, and allow me the luxury of giving a little lecture around this.
Sure.
NR remittances have two types. One is the must send home because people hear the house chula has to burn.
Yep.
The other is the arbitrage seeking money. We have generally been a larger part of the must send home category.
Mm-hmm.
If those people lose jobs and they all return, near term there will be a higher flow, which is what we are visualizing. If there's a massive job loss and that whole community of people are going to come back, there can be challenges. But we've seen that for now, Kuwait war, Gulf war, I've seen this on many occasions. They come back and find a way to go back to. Right? Like for example, now there's a crazy demand for nurses in the UK, North America, and they even reduced the criteria of that exam to encourage more people to come. So there may be some resettlement that will happen. Early to tell, but we will keep a very close watch. But it doesn't mean that it won't be a problem. It doesn't mean that it will be a problem. We'll have to deal with it.
Perfect. It's very good color. Thank you, Shyam. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Anand Ladha from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi. Just two questions from my side. Just want to understand, Shyam, if I look at our margin, even though you have given a lot of explanation, as compared to last year, we are almost down 10 to 15 dips on the margin side, from 3.15 to 3.04. We have been growing the retail and SME faster than the corporate loan book. Despite being gold loan growing, personal loan growing, we have not seen any improvement in the margin. If we have to see an ROE improvement, we need to see higher margin as well. What's your outlook on the margin side?
I know we're all in the same world. I don't believe any of us is in a cave. I think we must reset all aspirations of ROA differently from what we were on March 31. Right? So I would not even venture to give any kind of guidance around that. Other than what I said is the mix of business is shifting. We're focusing around gold loan, and I've always explained how the mix of margin happens. It's not only the rate of segment, it is also the slippages. As slippages come down, revenue reversals also change. There's a bunch of stuff happening. So I would think it would be too early to give you any kind of guidance. I do believe that our mix of book is in a right place. The incremental growth is coming from the right segments. So far, too hard to predict what FY21 will look like. So far, our credit book was developing the way we would like it to be. That's why the stress level was relatively low. It's visible, right? If you saw our Q4 slippages, it was at a super place. And if COVID had not happened, we would have had the best ever quarter on slippages. So the results are there. But that said, we will have to see how it shapes up. I would have normally argued that margins will improve because slippages will come down, but I can't say that just now because how the markets is shaping up. So, I'm making no commitment of what it will be other than the business mix is in the right place. We will only push the businesses that have a positive carry as we go ahead.
Perfect. Second, on the AS 15 provision, pension provision, if you can quantify what is the total provision we have done for FY20, and within that, what proportion was the normalized pension provision and what was the additional provision because of the change in interest rate?
I think our provision was about 220 crores for pensioning for the full year. I would think most of it. Ashutosh, you want to sort of expand on that?
I will have to see the breakup, but I think additional part is 75 crores. I think this is almost 80 odd crores more than the December quarter.
Would it be fair to say after 220 crore rupee, 80 crore is the additional provision because of the change in interest rate?
So you are just looking at one line pension. There is a pension, gratuity, and leave encashment. All three put together. Just a minute. Let me find out. In case there is another.
So what I wanted to understand, if interest rate were to remain where they are, if it remains flat for next year, what should be our normalized pension cost for next year? Is it 220 odd crore rupee or it would be again lower than?
It would be lower.
If interest rates are flat wherever they are, then it would be same as this year.
Okay. So whenever there is a change in interest rate, we make one-time provision.
It is basically as on the balance sheet date. So on 31st March, where the yields are, based on that, it is assumed as a discount rate, and based on that, the future actuarial requirements are calculated.
Okay. Suppose this year we did 220 crore of provision, and assuming suppose 100 crore is one-off provision because of the interest rate change. So next year, if interest rate remains same, our provision or pension will come down to 100 crore rupee.
Yes. There have been, some of the quarters where you would have seen the reversal also, where the staff cost had been negative. Rather than growing, it had become negative.
Okay.
Because yields had gone up.
Perfect. Shyam, lastly on the employee wage negotiation, so this 15% was negotiated pre-COVID, and I believe things have changed post-COVID. Do you still believe that the 15% wage hike still holds, or there will be a rethought on that? And second, lastly, on the fee income side, now since we have relationship management concept, do we expect the SME business should sustain for us, and therefore the fee income should sustain for us? Also, we have a very low proportion of fee from third-party distribution. Therefore, a large part of fee income for us should be sustainable fee income.
There are no one-offs is all I can say. We lost a lot of fee income because of the last 3-4 weeks of low or no business momentum. Fee income growth has been trending reasonably in the direction we would like. That will continue. See, again, everything that we must be mindful that the next 2-3 months, or I would argue even 6 months, may be very different, and therefore it's hard to predict. If everything comes back bouncing, we'll be back in full flow. So let's keep a close watch. Your question on wage negotiation, my sense, and it's anybody's guess, it's a very arduous process from November 17 to May 20, negotiations are underway. It was coming to a fruition in February, which is where this number of 15 came up. Then COVID came. I would think that if at all there's a reduction, it will be prospective, not retrospective. We've provided for all retrospective. So we have no backlog and no baggage, and therefore we can hope that prospective it may come down.
Perfect, sir. Thank you, sir. That's so much.
Wage negotiation is, and the implementation is due from 1st November 2017. So you can't say that for that period also you give a lower amount and all. Till February, everything was okay.
Perfect. No, I got the point, sir. I think it should be from perspective, not from retrospective.
Yeah. Guys, I have a request. I have another call to get into. Last question. One more question, and of course we will always open. Anand will funnel the questions later. So last question, and then after that we can take it to Anand and team. Please.
Sure. So last question is from the line of Dhaval Gada from TSP Investment. Please go ahead.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for the opportunity. Just a few questions. The first is on the standstill. If we were to not utilize the standstill, that.
Sorry, Dhaval, your line fell off. If you didn't use the standstill?
What would have been the additional slippage in the March quarter? So what is the
303 crores.
And second was, what is the direct and indirect exposure to travel and tourism sector, since that would be one of the most impacted?
Almost nothing. Almost nothing.
Okay. And lastly, any update on IDBI Federal?
We have agreed, we have a board approval to take it up to 4% additional, depending on RBI clearing it, and the price discovery that is happening in a conversation between AGS and IDBI. As they agree, we may come to a conclusion once they make us an offer. We have an approval to go up by 4%, take our 26 to 30. The EV of the company last value was 2,000 crores.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for dialing in. And as always, stay safe. And we hope to come back to you in July 15th or thereabouts when we do Q1 with hopefully a different world. Thank you very much, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you. On behalf of Federal Bank, we conclude today's conference. Thank you all for joining. You may now disconnect your lines.